Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
So he finds a script on my desk, takes it, rips off the front page, puts his name on it, says by him,
The Expendables.
Yes!
Wow.
Freaking asshole.
This whole time.
Are we live?
We are live.
Uh-oh.
As we are covering the UFC on Fox Sports 1. Very rare title match on Fox Sports 1. For the first time ever. Well, I guess maybe not ever. But I think they had a...
Not the first time
Not
ever
the first
for
time
a
ever
title
on
match,
Fox Sports
but
fight, yeah.
possibly first time for
definitely this weight class.
Was it, or did they do Dillashaw and Burrell rematch? Wasn't that on...
No, that was on Fox. I think they did...
Oh, Fox Sports, yeah.
I think they did Carlos Esparza against... Namajunas. It was either the finals or the Jędrzejczyk fight that was on Fox Sports 1.
The finals, yeah, would have been Fox Sports, I believe. We'll have to look that up.
We'll look it up.
Or we can just have our guy Joe Boza do it. I know you're in the chat room, buddy.
But we are live covering the fight that we saw last night. What a great night of fights. I feel like every week I'm saying history has been made one more time.
What was the fight night we saw last night,
It was the main event with the UFC Bantamweight Championship title fight. Dominic Cruz trying to regain his championship against TJ Dillashaw.
Doing so successfully, huh?
Successfully. What a great fight it was.
Yeah.
I think it was a great fight. But before we talk about the fights, we all want to know who you two lovely people are.
Us two is one, and we are...
LL.
Cool J. We are hard as hell. Battle anybody. She don't care who you tell.
You can find me on Instagram, Lethal Laura.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yes. JTAN716, as usual, all over your internet.
You can follow me at G Hermoza, George Hermoza, Yahoo, Twitter, and on Instagram. I have more Twitter followers than Instagram followers, by the way. Apparently my tweets are more interesting than my pictures.
I think it's a bigger universe.
What
Twitter.
kind of pictures do you post?
Good ones.
What kind?
Like me and my dog.
Oh.
And,
Doing fun stuff? Like out?
no.
The dog
Or
is
on the couch.
usually
Not
doing,
really. Usually on the couch.
the dog's usually doing chores.
Oh.
You'll see the dog doing boring stuff like the dishes, or there was one where it was cutting the grass on the lawnmower. Right?
I Instagram either about the Dodgers, my dog, wrestling, or the Patriots.
And not MMA.
And I used to Instagram about me being on this show.
And
And I used to do like a hashtag OOTD, outfit of the day. Go back on my Instagram, see what's up. But we're going to talk about yesterday's fights. What a great night of fights, as I just mentioned. TJ Dillashaw defending his championship against Dominic Cruz. A lot of storyline going into this match. Dominic Cruz, the guy's only fought 4 times in the last 5 years. Just about. I mean, here's a guy
once
who...
in the past 2, I think.
Pretty much. His last fight, I mean, I know Ariel Helwani's really good with the numbers. I'm not really good. I'm good with, like, dates. I know September 27th, 2014, I think it was, his last fight against Takeya Mizugaki. He was the main event of the prelims. That's how stacked that card was. He was the main event of the prelims, and he looked amazing in that fight. Of course, in the meantime, TJ Dillashaw has been pretty much tearing up that bantamweight division.
Yeah.
A lot of people calling him the new Dominic Cruz, just with a lot of his footwork. A lot of storyline, like I said, in this match. What do you guys think about the build-up coming in as far as that interview that we were everybody was talking about Dillashaw and Cruz and whatnot?
With John Anik, where Cruz just goes off on his face, or in his face, rather. Yeah. I think that was the big sizzle of the whole thing. I think the card... or the match itself, finishing up 2015, I think it got shoved to the back of people's minds a little bit until Cruz cut that promo on Dillashaw, and then it was, and once we got past Robbie Lawler and Carlos Condit, it was like, okay, now what's on the plate? Ooh, this looks tasty, and there was that nice chunky, as I like to say, chunky storyline there that, Cruz really set it off, I think.
Were you looking forward to it this fight as much as everyone else does?
You know what? After that little promo that was put together, that kind of amped me up for the fight.
Me too. Yeah.
You know, and just kind of researching all the background and what was going on before, and the history that Cruz has with Uriah Faber as well, and just what that means in regards to like the actual the ending of this fight.
Right.
So it was just very interesting going into it.
There was still enough of a kind of a cousin to. There was enough of a storyline between Cruz versus Team Alpha Male.
Yes.
That there was enough still here that you could kind of consider it like episode 7. Star Wars picks up 30 years later. Cruz and his versus Team Alpha Male picks up 3-4 years later.
But even post Team Alpha Male, as you had Cruz saying a lot of bad things about even TJ's coach, Dwayne Ludwig.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, he really is trying to find flaws in every single, the mind game as well.
Yeah.
How important do you think that was as far as not just the Alpha Male, but now it's like, well, now you're dissing Dwayne Ludwig and whatnot?
I didn't think it was that big of a deal because it was still Team Alpha Male to a certain extent, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. It was just, even with all the trash talk that was going on with it, actually Cruz was doing, most of it.
Right. Yeah.
Dillashaw was just kind of, just trying to be the better man for it.
Yeah. I think he was also caught off guard.
Well,
Yeah.
he's not really known for the trash talking as well. Just about a week ago, they were asking him about Conor McGregor and whatnot, and he said he was not a fan. And I think his quote was he's not a big fan of that WWE style of the game of MMA.
Because he's not... he doesn't come from that background. He's not used to it. He hasn't practiced it, I don't think. And I was going to say, too, that I think what's fascinating about this is this match, from start to finish, when they booked it to the final bell, was guaranteed to be technically a fascinating match. Anything... Guys, it is worth going out of your way to see. If you haven't caught it already, it is replaying on Fox Sports and Fox Sports 2 this week and probably the next few weeks. But it promised to be a fantastic technical match where you could break down a lot of different things. Obviously, the footwork is a big part of the storyline, and how Dillashaw, whether on purpose or just by accident, has kind of learned to imitate that footwork. The speed, the combinations, the way that they mix up their striking. It's going to be a fascinating thing, and also in the wrestling element as well. Whether Dillashaw could negate Cruz's takedowns.
Well, speaking of Cruz, real quick, I mean, the guy's got a torn ACL in both of his legs. Not just one leg, but both of his legs. Now, how curious were you in terms of seeing if he lost a step or no? Obviously, in his last fight with Mizugaki, he looked flawless. But then again, it was short. It was, 30, 45 seconds?
60 seconds, actually.
I'm sorry?
KO, 60 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was pretty short. So, were you guys have any worries for Cruz going into this fight, knowing his injury history?
You know what? I was actually wanted to see. I was very interested in seeing when it's coming up to the fight whether the old Cruz was going to still show and still going to have the same effect he did versus the new Dillashaw that he was working on brand new stuff and pretty much the game is evolving very quickly.
Sure.
And everybody's working on different things and you don't know where Cruz was at that moment. You don't know if that same Cruz was going to show up to fight Dillashaw.
It's a long time, and like you said, the sport could have possibly passed him by, or because he hasn't been in the spotlight much, he could be in the lab working on all kinds of mad, crazy experiments and new strategies and stuff.
I mean, here's a guy who actually is one of the few to hold, probably I think the last person to hold a victory over Demetrius Johnson. Yes, it was a weight class above what DJ usually fights at, but Cruz still beat him.
Oh yeah,
So
there was no question.
So
about
for
that.
a guy like Cruz to be able to match up with DJ as far, that's pretty impressive. Now coming into the fight, how long into?
Let's talk about the result here. It's I don't know if you would say controversial per se. It was close for sure. Cruz winning by split decision, 48-47, 46-49 in Dillashaw's direction, and then 49-46. I thought it's fascinating how the scores were all over the place. And when you go back, guys, there is a meme. It's not a meme. I'm sorry, but photo of the fight card is the scorecard is going around there on the internet. You can find that, and you can see which judges scored which rounds for whom.
It looks like, with the exception of round 2, which everyone agreed that Cruz won that round. All the other scores were all over the place. I think one judge had TJ winning 4 and 5. Another judge had Cruz winning 4 and 5. Another judge had TJ winning the first round. Like I said, it was just all over the place except for that first round. But it really was a close fight. I think in terms of maybe not as close as Lawler Condit, but it's still regardless pretty close. I don't think it's controversial as much. But in terms of, I do think that the fight was so good. And not only was it good, I think it was technically good. It wasn't like oh man, this fight is so ugly, like they're just throwing everything out the window.
Right.
And
it's
this
not
fight's
Griffin
amazing.
Bonner.
Yeah, I think this fight was, as far as technicality, it was just a beautiful fight to watch. Do you guys agree?
It was very beautiful to see Cruz have that kind of head movement and actually been able to, whenever he was working on the inside, he would just work on the inside with TJ. He would hit him, get out just in time. So, TJ it was hard for TJ to get anything off.
Yeah. TJ was swinging and missing a lot. And the other thing that I thought was interesting is that these guys are so fast that the cameraman, the director, was actually at certain points, not the whole time, but certain points, having trouble catching up, getting the right shot, that's going to provide you a maximum visibility to how close either fighter's punch comes to his face or his body. So a lot of shots whizzed by that looked like they actually hit Cruz or Dillashaw, or vice versa. And that was, that's one of those things that throws out of whack any kind of symmetry or general kind of a measurement of scoring these rounds. You go back and you watch the thing again. I watched it again today, and came out with a completely different outcome than the way I scored it last night.
How did you score it last night?
Last night I scored it for Cruz. I gave Cruz, I think it was first judge, Dave somebody or other, on the left hand side there. I gave Cruz the first 3 rounds and Dillashaw the second 2, or I'm sorry, the last 2 rather, and so it came out 49-40 or.
Well, you gave Cruz the first 3 rounds? Okay.
And Dillashaw 4 and 5.
Okay.
Today, when I went back and scored it and watched it with the sound off, I gave Dom the first, the third just barely, but then I gave Dillashaw the 4th and 5th, as I did last night, and then the second. That's how crazy, guys, that this thing is. The one round that I switched. The one round that I switched was the one that all the other judges across the board, it was the only one that they agreed on, So that just goes to show you how close this was, that 3 or 4, or everybody else on the internet and out there that watch the show, their scores can be just across the board completely,
Yeah. I have a question for you, Laura. And obviously you trained for fights and whatnot. How hard is it to fight against somebody with such quick footwork and such quick speed? Dominic Cruz leaning in, but then a second later he would just kind of completely, not just the foot movement, but the head movement, the body movement. Just somebody so quick. How do you prepare for that? You can't, can you? Is a question.
Just being in the fight, I've fought, somebody quicker than me, and it's, just to speak for TJ, it's very frustrating, which I seen him very frustrated in that fight, and
he was kind of wearing it on his face there.
Yeah.
First and second, like how do I catch this guy,
And and I seen Cruz actually I know that he was watching tape on him because he was using his kicks as takedowns. So he would TJ would kick him, which with the jab and then a kick right after that. He would time that and he would get TJ down.
He was catching a lot of the kicks and dumping them on that, wasn't he? Yeah.
But he was right up.
Impressive for Dillashaw. Dominic Cruz was able to take him down. I think he had maybe 4 or 5 takedowns. But Dillashaw was not on the ground at all for maybe more than 3 or 4 seconds.
Right.
They were right up.
The only time that groundwork came into effect, I thought, was the 4th round, and even then, you wouldn't really say it was groundwork because I think I forget, it was a scramble and who took down who, but Dillashaw ended up getting on Cruz's back, standing against the cage and throwing those knees, and I think knees to the leg, and then I think he landed one in the head as well.
Speaking up a little bit of those takedowns, as far as Cruz taking him down, Dillashaw getting right back up, would you favor that as maybe one for the other? Do you credit more Cruz for taking him down, or do you credit more Dillashaw for not letting himself stay down?
See, that's a tough one because I would credit maybe Cruz for that, for the takedowns, because that shows he's being the aggressor.
Well, but Dillashaw was the aggressor for the most part, standing. Cruz was doing a lot of evading, and I'll write that off or credit that to strategy. I wouldn't say it's not like he was running from him, but in terms of cage control, I'd argue that Dillashaw was the one being more aggressive, pushing, trying to push the pressure. But I agree with you. Cruz should get more credit for the takedowns as opposed to Dillashaw and the fact that he got up. Now, because Dillashaw got up fast and because there wasn't much damage done in those when Cruz was on top and got the takedowns, you don't give too much control or too much credit to those takedowns. It would be a tiebreaker. And in this kind of scenario, you really could argue that those were the tiebreaker because the striking otherwise seemed so in many ways, even. Like nobody was landing any really hard rocking shots. There was a lot of movement and a lot of swinging and missing, quite frankly. But it was great technical striking regardless.
I don't know about you, but I kind of noticed in the 4th and 5th rounds, and we've seen Dillashaw in the past, obviously start off strong, but just those last few rounds or last 2 rounds against Renan Barao and Joe Soto, especially against Barao, just completely just come into his zone in those 4th and 5th rounds. And I saw Dillashaw kind of coming up in those 4th and 5th rounds, and I scored him. I scored Dillashaw for both those rounds.
I actually did too.
Did you guys agree? 4th and 5th as well?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So a lot of like, and,
you know what?
And Cruz was slowing down.
And the 4th and the 5th, I think that Dillashaw was actually putting his combinations together along with the kicks. That's what was working for him. Cruz actually showed a little bit damage on his leg, on his leading leg. So he actually switched stands and showed that.
That leg was taking damage, although in interviews afterwards he was saying it was his foot and not the leg kicks themselves that were damaging. But I was nervous. I mean, especially thinking about his leg injuries. Yeah, and the fact that Dillashaw is just going to town with those leg kicks. I thought that it might have an issue that might be playing into effect. And it definitely looked like Cruz just was trying to no-sell those kicks. But at the same time, I mean, you could see him taking them, going with the momentum when Dillashaw landed. And then there was a giant red welt there.
Oh, yeah.
Behind his knee.
Definitely.
So I do think that it could have... that, if nothing else, when you're talking about scoring damage, which is supposed to be the predominant criteria, 4th and 5th rounds, Dillashaw did more damage.
And then also the fence grabbing, what Cruz was doing.
See, I thought he was grabbing the fence a little too much, and I was very surprised that he didn't get a point taken away, because Herb Dean had to warn him like 3-4 times.
Yeah. Right.
And it's funny because had he would have taken a point away, and the 4th and the 5th round would have stayed the same, it would have ended up being a draw, to be honest with you, because with the way the scoring was.
Was it because you had? Let's see. I know the first round, the first judge.
Because then it would have been 48, 46, 49, 45, and then with the Cruz with 48, 47, it would have been 47 to 47. Had a point would have been taken away.
You would have had a split draw. Wow. Yeah.
Rarity.
That is a super rare score there, yeah.
But speaking of Cruz as well, too, here's a guy who's no stranger to 5-round fights at all. I think before he got hurt, before the Mizugaki fight, I think his previous 4 fights all went to decision. So with that said, did you kind of see the I guess you can say injuries or maybe the fatigue in some ways kind of settle in? And do you think that's a result of his injuries and kind of him slowing down in round 4 and 5? Or do you think just Dillashaw is just that good late in the game?
I think Dillashaw was kind of getting his timing in back in, going into the 4th and 5th, and I think he was getting a little bit more confident. With the striking, with the kicks landing, and all of that. But I think it was just TJ. doing that.
It makes sense that TJ would need that long to really get the pace and the timing going against somebody like Cruz. But of course, it does make sense as well that Cruz, those leg kicks, whether it was his kneecap or his foot, I think either way, that part of your body is hurting, regardless. So as you get into later rounds, you're more prone to things acting up and having to deal with pain, Plus, you're tired. That was the other thing I noted was that Cruz seemed to be breathing hard pretty early in the match.
I've actually watched some of his fights, some of his previous fights.
Yeah.
And he does that. He kind of goes.
Yeah.
He takes big breaths.
Okay.
So I seen that from him before. And then also, what I wanted to say was, in the fourth and the fifth, how do you stop somebody that's so quick and so fast on the feet? Is you chop them down.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's what TJ was doing. He kind of slowed down a little bit in the fourth and the fifth.
Yeah.
So that's
the strategy was starting to work.
Yeah.
At that point. Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, I know you said that you scored it one way yesterday. You scored another way today. I mean, so you think that Dillashaw should have won that fight?
The second round, I ended up giving to Dillashaw. The third round was close. The second round, it's a hair's difference in criteria here. I have notes here about it was Dom was elusive in the first minute. He shucked off the takedown attempt from TJ. TJ landed a right, and that's when we started seeing leg kicks come into play. Dom had a flurry and 2 brief takedowns, but to me, again, that criteria of those 2 takedowns versus the finesse and the pinpoint accuracy, I want to say, or the razor thin criteria of the striking. So it was so close. I ended up giving it to TJ that second round. I don't know. I think honestly, guys, I watched this match 10 times, and I'm going to give it 5 times to TJ and 5 times to Cruz. But yeah, that's what I saw in the second, and so I can see. No, in the end, I walk away going, the right guy won. I don't think that there was a question about that. Although I do think that TJ turned on and really was in his zone later in the match, but not soon enough.
So with that said, where do you go from here? I mean, in my personal opinion, I want to see a rematch, not because it was controversial or not, whatever. I just thought that this fight was just so great to watch that I want to see 5 rounds more, possibly. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? Where do you guys think the Bantamweight Championship should go from here?
Oh, man. I would like to see a rematch. Why not?
Because I'm tired of saying the word rematch. I want to see in 2016. Do you want to see a trilogy?
See, as opposed to the previous fight that we just saw, Condit Lawler, I think you guys agree too. Is that I don't want to see a rematch of that. Right. This one, I want to see a rematch. I think it was that good. I want to see TJ and Dominic go one more time.
I think
like you said, maybe possibly a trilogy.
You could justify it. It is kind of like Lawler Hendricks, where you rematch because it was so close and it was so good, not necessarily because it's controversial. Me personally, if there's controversy involved, then I'm much more for a rematch. There's also this criteria that, somebody has been such a great champion for so long, they get an immediate rematch. It started with Anderson. Then we had, somebody before Ronda, I think, as well, right? Henan Barao. Mm-hmm. And then that got screwed up with the weight. And then Ronda, of course. And not to say that these people don't necessarily deserve title fights, rematches, but you've got to keep the belts going there. I mean, from a business perspective, what's great here is that from a business perspective, you can go in either way. Uriah Faber is right there, and he'd fight either guy gladly, And regardless, say what you will about the competitiveness of it, you can at least, it's a match that you can market, whether it's with Cruz defending or Dillashaw defending, Who knows what's going to happen with Henan Barao? I don't remember if he's booked or not in a show coming, or is he having to fight at 45?
I haven't heard anything about 45. I know he's been having trouble with the weight here and there.
I think that there was talk about making him go to 45, and I mean, now that the IV ban is in effect, I wouldn't be surprised if that just is a foregone conclusion.
I mean, I also got to look at the rankings too. I mean, you have obviously TJ and Dominic number 1 and the champ. You had Henan Barao at number 2, and obviously we're just talking about him. Uriah Faber, who
Faber's number 4.
He's number 3, but it just in some way that's like you give him the big money fights and he just keeps losing anyways. He lost against Frankie Edgar. He's going to lose. He keeps losing the championship
He's going to
fights.
lose? You know that already?
Lose.
I mean,
a guy who's kind of been getting the shaft every now and then is Rafael Sunsao. He's the guy who's probably, I think he's not, before Dominic, he's beaten TJ Dillashaw. Obviously, they were promising him a title shot for the long time. And you have Michael McDonald kind of moving up. So I think in just some ways,
come on,
I think Dillashaw.
Business, Rafael Sunsao, Mike McDonald, pay-per-view? No.
What do you mean?
When you can do Uriah Faber in a title match,
I just think because of that, I think Cruz and Dillashaw makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd stick Faber in there because you can always go back to that Cruz and Dillashaw rematch. You know, we should talk about the Holly Holm Ronda Rousey or Holm Tate Rousey triangle. Same thing. Faber versus now Cruz. It's a match that you wanted to do. You've got plenty of footage. You can market the hell out of that thing, right?
I think the best thing that can happen is probably Faber winning. And I'll get into the Tate winning because I think the best thing that can happen is Tate winning.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, Dillashaw and Faber, I mean, there's not, I wouldn't say bad blood, but obviously now they're willing to fight each other. You know, Cruz, Faber, obviously there's that bad blood there. Yeah, I mean, it does make it. I just want to see Faber just win an important fight. He keeps losing those important fights. I want to see him win an important fight.
He beat Frankie Sands, and I know that wasn't a huge one-sided domination, but it was something that, you know, was Frankie's, top 15 at least. I mean, I know I'm fudging it a little bit to justify Faber. I grant you that. But from a business perspective, that makes much more sense than Rafael Sunsao, than Mike McDonald. I don't know that it doesn't make more sense than Aljamain Sterling. That might be interesting, you know. Aljo has certainly been, I mean, granted he's a free agent and doesn't have a contract signing. That could be an interesting way of tempting him to re-sign there. He's ranked at number 5. But yeah, Faber makes sense you put him in there, and if he wins, great. If he loses, then that would be Cruz still as champion, and then you can run the rematch with Dillashaw. I think it is fair to do a rematch at some point, but this way you just keep the title moving, you know, with at least a moderately new face, shall we say, you know, with Faber. It's at least a new combination as opposed to putting that 2.
Yeah, Dominic's been away for so long that somehow Cruz and Faber does seem a little fresh at times. Obviously, I mean, it's been so long that if you remember, anybody remembers The Ultimate Fighter Live. When that first started, that was supposed to be the culmination of that season of The Ultimate Fighter.
Was that the first Ultimate Fighter?
On Fox.
After
Fox.
So it wasn't an AfterBuzz show? We didn't do that, did we?
No. Our first one was...
I was trying to remember.
20.
Ronda and Misha?
No. It was after that. It was 20.
No, we covered Ronda and Misha.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
Bet on it.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, brother.
What's the bet?
I know
What's
we
the bet?
did. What? Yeah.
What's the bet?
Yes. Okay. No. now we can just check. Yeah. Again, Joe Boza. I know Joe was watching. Actually, we can look that up.
I don't know why I know. When did we start AfterBuzz? Around UFC, I can't remember talking about this. Around March, April 2014.
February.
Ronda Rousey,
for me.
Misha Tate was December 2013.
Okay.
So obviously, if the culmination of that Ultimate Fighter was Ronda Tate was a culmination of that season of December 2013, the same night as Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman, when Chris
What are we
Anderson
talking
Silva.
about? I mean, I know what we're talking about. No,
we
but
didn't cover
run your logic again?
the Rousey Tate one because that culmination
I'm sure
of
we
the
did.
culmination of that season.
So what was the first one
their
that we
fight.
did?
The girls one, the girls for the strawweight
The
championship.
all girls.
Yeah, and that was Gilbert Melendez versus Anthony Pettis. Speaking of Anthony Pettis, who was in our
Is that a loss?
Speaking of Anthony Pettis, who was in our co-main event of the evening. See what you did there? I like what you did there. You're trying to transition it into the next fight. Anthony Pettis faced off Eddie Alvarez in what many considered a dream match about 2 years ago, when WEC/UFC lightweight champion into the Bellator lightweight championship, Bellator lightweight champion.
Why did I do that again?
Eddie Alvarez and Anthony Pettis, in what, in my opinion, a much more anticipated fight than the main event. I thought this was going to be. I mean, I think it was. It was going to be.
You're saying that Pettis Alvarez was more anticipated than the title match?
In my opinion.
For him.
Oh, for you.
My opinion. An audience of one.
Okay.
Because that's all that matters in my world.
Okay, so you're saying
that I'm amused at my own antics.
Yeah, your opinion is that you were anticipating that one more
by a
so
little,
than me.
by a little,
Okay.
but it's still more.
But you're not saying that overall by the mass fans that one was more anticipated than Dillashaw Cruz. There's no way you could argue that one.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Let's get those tweets in. But but even so, I mean, Anthony Pettis, here's a guy who's always fun to watch. Eddie Alvarez just finally coming into his own since coming to the UFC. What do you guys think of this fight? Was it? I mean, I know maybe you guys were anticipating the bantamweight championship more, but were you guys still looking forward to this fight as much as maybe I was?
I was actually looking for Alvarez to strike a little bit more than what he did. Looking back into the earlier fights from Bellator and with Schindler, and those battles was great to see, and actually I had to go back and watch it a couple of times, but I was actually expecting a little bit more striking from him. He had a game plan to actually just stuff him and stop that explosiveness that Pettis has, and he did it. He played that game and he won.
The Clay Guida blueprint, right?
Yeah, his.
Yeah, same thing. I was expecting a bit more of a striking match. So Alvarez won by split decision, 29-28 and 28-29. I don't know how you gave it, how you get a split decision there. I don't know how anyone sees that Pettis won that match. I think that's way outdated criteria of judging when you say, well, he's not getting taken down. He's up against the cage, so the other guy, the guy that's putting in the effort, the guy that's controlling Pettis, his body at least, yeah, that's the guy that's losing. I don't agree with that at all. Let's see, Eddie, I gave the first 2 rounds. Third round doesn't look like he even scored it. I don't have a score written down here, but let's see. Eddie Alvarez, 5th, 6th takedown. Yeah, I think I would have given him that one too. Yeah, I think that's I'm not sure which one, even which round they would have given to Pettis. What do you guys think?
I actually gave the second to Pettis.
Okay.
First and third, I give it to Alvarez. But it was just.
I thought there'd be a lot more fireworks,
Yeah.
especially with their history of just these. Oh my God, those. We can't even talk right now. These fireworks kind of matches of obviously with Eddie Alvarez, like you mentioned, with Michael Chandler back in Bellator. Obviously Anthony Pettis. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like he's his own worst enemy because like now everybody's expecting a highlight reel kind of move in some ways. We've seen some obviously the Showtime kick in WEC against Benson Henderson. There's even other times where he's just so impressive, even when he beat Benson Henderson for the UFC belt. Just this submission just out of nowhere. Same thing with Gabriel Melendez. I was a little disappointed, but I mean, I think the right guy won. If anything, and let me know what you think about this. I think the best thing to do right now with Eddie Alvarez is him versus Tony Ferguson, #1 contendership.
That's a fantastic match.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to see that fight.
And I think even, I think I already closed it. I think Tony Ferguson kind of tweeted out and be like, hey, man.
That sounds like something Tony would say.
I'm saying, like, this fight was boring. Like, show me something. And
and Alvarez even said it. Yes, I know that it was boring. I know that I know it wasn't a lot of action going on, but I had to do what I had to do to be able to get that W.
Yeah, and, but that's the other fascinating story to come out of this is what is it about Anthony Pettis that me personally, it didn't, just from watching on TV, didn't look like he was necessarily there mentally, or that he was having trouble getting his pace, timing, whatever. It didn't. That's not the Anthony Pettis that we know that fires on all cylinders, right? And on top of that, this is what the 3rd, 4th time that we've seen this strategy. Somebody, employed against him where you just bull him up against the cage. Now it didn't work for Gil Melendez; he got caught in the guillotine, but. Dos Anjos, who worked for him, not a problem. Clay Guida, as we talked about earlier, and Eddie as well. So this is the 4th time that Pettis has had to deal with this scenario.
And you know what? I mean, I would think that Pettis, after Dos Anjos fight, he would go back to the board and actually work on his wrestling, his avoiding taking down.
Right.
And he was working, and I seen on the embedded videos that he was actually working on that.
Is he
But I didn't
Martinez,
see
right?
anything I didn't see any of that in this fight.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
that's exactly the thing. It's like if you didn't know that Pettis had started working with Izzy, you wouldn't know that he worked on his wrestling at all. So it certainly wasn't visible in the wasn't evident in the show or in the match, and that's what I found very bizarre about this match in general.
Yeah, like I said, I really hope I see Eddie Alvarez versus Tony Ferguson. I think that fight would definitely bring out the Eddie Alvarez that we all know, that we all saw in Bellator, and we know that he can go. Next fight is just so I can't even talk about it because it's just so hard to even think about one of the guys in the fight, Matt Mitrione versus Travis Brown. By the way, real quick, Travis Brown much leaner, right?
Yeah,
He looked it.
Very, very much leaner. Must
think
be
he
in that
came in
Ronda Rousey
lighter.
diet that,
I think he was under.
The Mike Dolce diet.
Was he? I think it was under 240. I think he was
he
like
looked-
238 or so, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 230 something.
Yeah.
A couple eye pokes are now Travis Brown with the victory, but that's not the story of the match that everybody's going to remember. Everybody's going to remember Matt Mitrione's right eye. How I don't even want to talk about it because it just gives me
whatever.
I don't know if there's any possibility of just maybe googling Matt Mitrione's eye for anybody who's watching on YouTube or will watch on your currently watching now, whether it's live or not.
Yeah, Mark, check out Matt Mitrione, Mitrone, I believe.
Oh my God, it was just. Oh my God,
There's
horrendous.
a Google machine
I
going.
mean, I've never. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I've seen like hematomas. Like obviously, I think the big one that comes out is Josie Alder versus Mark Hominick.
That wasn't a hematoma. That was a thematoma. That was a whole bunch of tomas.
Like I said, I think it was Mark Hominick who just had a bulge, but that was more maybe like maybe
That
the
was
top
on
of
the
his
forehead.
head.
Yeah,
the
that was on
forehead.
top, yeah.
Matt Mitrone's eye is like, oh my God.
It was
I
on
can't-
a
I'm not
whole-
going to put this on the internet because this is a family show.
You found it on the internet. Put it on the internet.
Oh,
Come
God,
on.
no.
Can you
Throw
blur
this
it?
thing into the show, damn it.
I will literally puke through the microphone. And
You
it will
will
come
not
out your
literally
ears.
do that. It is literally
But
impossible. Run that photo.
What did you guys think when you saw
Booth
that?
monkey?
Obviously, the right person won the fight. But what do you guys think when you saw that? Were you just like?
I thought it was cool. I mean, I don't, all safety and good health to Matt Mitrione. But yeah, I mean, we've seen things just as bad as that. That was pretty gnarly, but yeah, it was cool.
Things happen.
Things happen.
It's
Exactly.
MMA.
So you can have that on the wallpaper of your phone.
I'm not going to because the chick that's on there in the bikini and booty shorts
better?
is a hell of a lot better. Yeah. But I suppose if it depends on if I'm in a sex or violence kind of mood. But real quickly, too, in the chat room here, Joe Boz is rolling solo tonight. Understandably so, since we're on a different night than we usually are. He does clear the bet, as we did as well. You guys started covering Ultimate Fighter with Cycle 20, Gil Melendez, and Anthony Pettis. I sit corrected. Good call, Joe Boza. We owe you yet another T-shirt. And he says, actually, Habib Nurmagomedov tweeted Ariel Helwani that he wanted Eddie with the #1 contendership.
Yeah, he's
that would
irrelevant.
be fantastic.
It would be, but talk to me when you have a fight first.
Exactly. That'd be fantastic if he was around, number one. And number two, at this point, I think that Tony Ferguson means a lot more
Absolutely.
as a draw than Habib would.
Quickly. Absolutely.
Yeah. Not to say that Habib is not deserving on merit of in the cage.
I want to see a Kukui.
El Cucuy, yeah, exactly,
I want to
yeah.
see a Kukui.
Going back to Travis Brown, though, you kind of saw, at least in my eyes, a different style from him. Definitely more patient, a more reserved fighter. Did you guys
Right.
kind of see that too, or did you guys even agree with that game plan?
I mean, he was taking his time to actually, strike, and he was picking his what's it called?
Picking his shots.
Yeah, it's picking his
picking the
shots.
openings.
Yeah, so I think it was a better fight for him. He obviously did some damage.
Yeah, yeah. The looking on my notes here, I gave Mitrione the first. The second one was close. The second round. For Travis, you could make the argument of scoring it for Travis based on his takedown. But Mitrione was having great success with that left. He was throwing a left straight that Travis had no answers for, couldn't defend, and he was getting through all throughout the match. I think even into the third.
And in the first round, he got knocked down, right? Travis
did. Yeah, he tags Brown once. Yeah, knocked down
He
at
went down to his
345.
knee.
Yeah. So, it was competitive. I mean, it's interesting. I'm a big fan in general of Matt Mitrione matches. They're not necessarily the most exciting ones, but there's something about him when he's in there. And maybe it's how he delivers on interviews and stuff, where you feel like this may not be the top guy in the heavyweight division, but he's going out there and he's doing what he can. I mean, he's night and day character from the way he was or the way he was portrayed in the
Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah. So I enjoyed this match, even though there was a fair amount of kind of patty cake, feeling out distance and stuff. Yeah, it worked for me.
Just to kind of round out some of the main card, Francisco Trinaldo defeated Ross Pearson by unanimous decision. Going into the prelims, one of the comeback kids, and maybe going to be a fighter to watch, even though he's been around, is Patrick Cote, beating Ben Saunders. I'm kind of happy for Cote.
I think this is his second match at 170, correct?
I think so too, yeah.
He's fought at 85. He's fought at 205, and it's an interesting story, for a guy that has had fights at 205 and 85, now going down to 70.
He's even had a middleweight championship fight against Anderson Silva.
There you go.
Ed Herman beating Tim Boach. That was pretty impressive. Ed Herman's another guy who's been around for a little bit.
Comeback kid right there.
Yeah,
Yep.
Chris Wade defeating Mehdi Baghdad.
Mehdi
and
Baghdad, yep.
Luke Sanders, who hopefully isn't poor anymore. I know. And after his fight, he was getting interviews like, dude, man, I'm so poor. I'm trying to win. Hopefully I can get that bonus. And congratulations, he did get that bonus for $50,000 for submission or performance of the night.
I think he was speaking for a lot of fighters.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Guarantee you that.
Paul Felder beating Cruikshank. Ilir Latifi beating Sean O'Connell. Sean O'Connell, probably my favorite person to watch during the weigh-ins. If anybody's seen him in previous weigh-ins, I know this one he kind of handed Latifi flowers. Other ones, I think he brought out lightsabers, the little thing with the drink. It's always fun to watch.
O'Connell's got a charm and charisma to himself, yeah. But Latifi, I think, should have gotten the two a performance bonus as well. I hope he got taken care of at some point, because threw two shots, two right hands, dropped O'Connell, and followed up with some ground and pound, but or maybe the referee jumped in that fast, but 30 seconds, two punches. How do you argue that one?
Yeah, I agree.
No.
Before we leave for the night, just real quick, since the last time we were here, they announced another mega card. The big story is, and I hate when they're saying this is the first time it's happened, because it's not the first time it's happened, but the UFC Featherweight Championship, or Featherweight title, I guess for that weight class, is Conor McGregor has a chance to become a double champion, as he's going to face Rafael Dos Anjos on
Two
March
titles
5th.
at once.
BJ Penn did that, right? Against USP back in the day when he was a lightweight champion.
He did have a title shot, and that was a last-minute replacement match.
No, it wasn't.
So it was.
No, it wasn't.
Wasn't
Bet on it.
Hughes?
Bet on it.
It was like a 2-week replacement.
No,
If it's
he
the one I'm thinking of.
faced Hughes in the replacement. But
Was he the last
GSP
minute?
won, and then after BJ Penn became the lightweight champion.
Whatever.
Trust me.
It's whatever Joe Boza says.
I mean, obviously we'll get to the predictions, in a few weeks when we're back. But also another fight is Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate. Finally, Tate gets her title shot. Like I said, I think it's going to be really interesting to see if Tate can actually win now, because I think another story is Rousey coming back and maybe beating Tate. I don't know.
Yeah, but then again, it goes back to Holm is a beautiful, not a beautiful, but
She is beautiful. Especially,
but
especially to the Irish fans.
beatable.
If anybody's seen that video.
A beatable fighter.
Holm?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
And
her record says otherwise.
I know, but
You see holes.
yeah, and Tate, it's a little more scrappy,
Right.
than Ronda is.
Styles
So
make matchups.
yeah, so if Tate wins, then it goes back to Ronda again.
Yeah.
This
A
makes
nice little triangle,
sense.
as you mentioned earlier with the
Yeah,
bantamweight
exactly.
thing.
I was going to say this makes the best sense. It's interesting card because the title match, the McGregor and Dos Anjos fight, by principle, I'm against it. But the Tate home match, I'm all for it. So you've got one match that is the right business decision. The other one is the right business decision for money. I understand that, but not good for the championships themselves.
I will say this, though. I think that Frankie Edgar should not be upset, because no matter what, he's going to get the next featherweight championship. Because I think, and this is my own opinion, if Conor wins, I think he's going to vacate the featherweight championship. No matter what, Frankie Edgar is going to be in that vacant championship fight.
True, but I think he also wants Conor.
Absolutely.
for monetary
yeah,
reasons, but
obviously,
as
yeah.
well as wanting to test himself.
Yeah.
And really prove himself as the king.
Absolutely.
At 145.
Well, the next time we're here is going to be for UFC on Fox. So real quick predictions.
This is the Bader Johnson show.
Bader Johnson, but first, who do you got? Josh Barnett or Ben Rothwell?
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, we got a whole new jingle there too.
Wow. I haven't heard that one
Audio
before.
cue.
I think that was just Mark saying it in the booth.
Very well could be with that guy's voice.
Yeah, the guy's a good voice. Josh Barnett, Ben Rothwell. Possible maybe number one contendership for Josh Barnett, maybe if he wins. Another guy to throw in the mix.
Yeah, Josh is one of those guys where it does kind of depend on which Josh Barnett shows up. I think that the ferocious War Master Josh Barnett will show up. That's who I'm picking.
I'm picking Barnett as well.
I'm picking Barnett, and of course
Maybe we're just SoCal softies here
Right.
for our local guy. Huh?
But you got Ryan Bader and Anthony Rumble Johnson in the main event. This is the fight that a lot of people are looking forward to. What do you guys think of this fight? What do you guys who do you guys have?
I'll just pick Johnson. I think Johnson is still in his prime right now, as is Bader. But
You're picking Rumble.
yeah.
What about you, Laura?
I'll pick Bader.
Well, I'll pick.
You want to bet on it?
Let's do it. What do you want to bet?
I don't know. I just let go of your hand. Doesn't matter anymore.
Well, he still owes me, and judging by things, he's not going to pay out. Speaking of which,
There's nothing for me to pay you.
I got Bader. Well, I actually owe you one anyway, so
Okay.
you can call it even. But in the meantime, where can people to reach you on the social media?
You can reach me at Lethal Laura Instagram.
J10716 hasn't changed in
Real
the past
quick,
40 minutes.
a lot of people are gonna look like, where's Lethal Laura? Lethal Laura with one L in the
One
middle.
L says Lethal Aura.
Lethal Laura. Yeah.
Aura.
There you go.
Aura.
Aura.
And
Or in Spanish.
And you can find me as the road to 500 followers continues on the Twitter machine, GHERMOZA. We'll see you later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.